disappear. Hello everyone. Thank you, I will say, and welcome to a new episode. That's episode 2 of our podcast, Occupational Therapy, Live and Practice. I'm Olufemi, but you can call me Femi, as usual. And I have with me my friend and co-host,
Kenny right here. Thank you for everyone for joining, and thank you for all the love that we've received on our first episode. We appreciate you all. Thank you for all your comments, likes, sharing. We do not take it for granted. In our first episode, we've given an overview why we felt this podcast was needed right now and why we're doing it at this very moment. And we talked about a whole lot of things, how the journey of OT started for us from back in 2005 till now, 21 years of that. In in this episode, though, we are here to talk about how it all began. Studying OT in 2005, studying occupational therapy in 2005, what we knew and what we didn't, the things we did, how life was back then, and all of that shebang. That's what we're talking about this episode.
that's right. So, as Kenny said, today we are diving right back into the beginning of the whole journey.
Yeah.
Because this story is not going to be a complete story without bringing you up to speed about where this whole thing all began back at the alma mater, FSOT, as we call it, the Federal School of Occupational Therapy, back then in 2005. Right. Kenny, I'm going to have to put you on the spot on this. I know it's a difficult one. Choosing OT back then, looking at the early expectation and everything, do you remember exactly why you chose occupational therapy in the first place?
I've thought of these several times, and I think I mentioned it in the first episode that I never knew what I was getting myself into. I didn't even know I've never heard of occupational therapy. And most of the people that study OT probably will say that the only thing that we know about therapy back then was physiotherapy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I never knew what occupational therapy was. All I knew was that there was a prophecy that came out on my side that told my dad that they saw me in a clinical coat, the white coat. And that is my line of work should be, or line of study should be, around health. I never attempted the joint admission and matriculation board exam that lets you get into university in Nigeria. I never attempted it. So all they were looking for me at the time, or my parents and everyone around was searching for, was School of Health or anything relating to health. And one of a very good family friend, an uncle of mine, rest in peace to him, got this advert in the newspaper, and it was Federal School of Occupational Therapy, Yaba at the time. And just brought it. He was the uncle from church. My dad is a pastor, so he's one of my dad's, like, one of the servants in church as well. They serve in church and they're ministers. And then he just brought it and said, "Daddy, let's apply for this." And we did. The funniest thing was I did the exam and the interview, but I was never called for admission. My name only came out in the supplementary list. That was why I resumed school late, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember. We already started lectures, and we all had
Exactly.
our rooms and everything before you came in. And people were
Exactly.
like, "Who is this little one?" And I remember Joseph, as at then, was saying, "Come, let's collect money from this boy and put him in room one."
That was the truth. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I never knew what to expect. Courses
Yeah,
to think about. I didn't know anything. And when I was a very young teenager back then, I was like 15, 16 at the
that's
time.
right.
So
That's right.
do you remember how you got into OT? How did you get to study OT at the time?
Well, I remember After my secondary school, I all I wanted to do is get into a university. What was in my head was to be a doctor, actually. So I attempted JAM, as you said, Joint Admission and Matriculation Board.
Exam. Yeah.
I got a very good score in my first attempt, a good score, but it wasn't good enough to get me the course that I needed. And back then, because of the obsession with becoming a doctor, we had to choose the same university, my first and second choice, same course, first and second choice. So, and I got there with a disappointment. Even people with higher score than myself couldn't get into the university as at then. So I don't know. I just fed up. I got fed up because, well, looking around, most of my mates already were in the uni, and I was just hiding when anyone said, "Oh, how did it happen?" So that particular year, 2005, I already made up my mind I would never go to university. That I was going to just learn a trade or something. Good people around, my mom especially, was saying, "No, why you're brilliant? Why don't you look for something? Go to a polytechnic or something." I got an admission to a poly because I had to write a poly jam, which is the different kind of jam. They call it poly jam then
It's
in
for the
Nigeria.
Polytechnic, isn't it?
That's
It's
for
for
the
Polytechnic.
polytechnic. Yeah, I got an admission to study something. I think the science lab technology or something. And then one member of my family said, with a discouraging tone, "You will end up opening a store by the roadside repairing lantern." And and I got discouraged again. That was until my dad saw the advert, FSOT advert in the newspaper, just like they did about yours. And then I think the form was 1,000 naira or thereabout. So I didn't know anything
Wow.
about occupational therapy whatsoever. I've never heard anything about OT. I've heard a little about physio, but not about OT. So I got the form, wrote the exam, got in the school, and bam, that was how we started the journey. You see, but the moment I started the course, it becomes clearer to me. It felt different. The
Yeah.
hope that I had about becoming a doctor was beginning to come to life again. I mean, okay, after all, this is something relating to medical sciences or some, but yeah, we were just starting. We didn't know where the journey was taking us. So, yeah.
True. I mean, when we started school at the time, and you start with all of these courses, you're getting anatomy, physiology from the get go. All of this kind of like felt obviously strange to me because it was like, okay, in Bolatunjasi, in my language, it's like, where have we ended up now? Like, you look at it and be like, okay. But I really didn't, like I said, it wasn't like I wasn't really aspiring to be a doctor, or even in the medical field at all. I was thinking of maybe becoming a geologist and then going towards the oil region and making so much money from the oil,
Yeah, becoming an oil mogul.
and then you just have that vision at the time. So coming to it and then seeing all of these courses that we eventually studied
Yeah.
in school at the time, you just feel like, okay, now it's starting to eat different. And we
Hmm.
studied some serious courses at the time, didn't we?
Yeah. You remember at that time, some of those courses felt overwhelming at the beginning, and some didn't even make sense to me.
Mhm. I'm
Courses
telling you,
like sociology, well, a little bit making sense, but physiology particularly
I
was not
was
making a lot of sense to me at the beginning.
I was coming to that. I've never written down dictation like that in my entire life. Like how much notes you need to write when they're talking about it is like dictating and then you are busy writing. If you miss a line, you're probably missing the whole point. They won't give you the handout to photocopy or to do. You are meant to be writing and then you like, what's going on? It never made sense. Anatomy was physical. You could see what is being talked about. You
Yeah.
could feel it, you could see it, but physiology was just something totally different.
You remember I mean, I remember when I was leaving school of OT back then. It was two Ghana must go bag. Ghana must go. I think people know about Ghana must go. It's a sack, kind of the local sack that we use, to lift things, to carry loads, and you know, move our loads around. So that kind of bag, I think I had two of it with the entire only anatomy handout filling the two bags that I took home.
Oh my
Many of which
goodness.
I didn't even read because we had to cram most of these things, and just poured it in the exams. There's no way you would read and fully understand everything because I mean, it was too much.
It was a lot. There was a
Well, I
lot
wouldn't
in the
say too much.
curriculum.
Yes, a lot is the right word.
Yeah. It was a lot in the curriculum. There was so many things happening at the same time, and we did so many courses. Anatomy, physio, because those ones stood out. We had the physics for biology, we had nursing, you had
Don't even go there.
sociology.
Don't go to physics for biology. That was a nightmare.
I mean, I loved it because I was very good at mathematics at the time, or
Well,
till
for
now.
you, maths it's my best enemy.
He's, it was really, those were the ones that gave me hope in a way when we're in school, like physics for biology and all of that. But you dive into the art and crafts part as well, the ones that we did.
I think in a way I enjoyed art and
Of
craft.
course,
In
of
a
course,
way, tailoring, macrame. Was it called macrame? Just
it
a portion
was,
of the art and craft.
yeah. We had
There
the
is this
woodwork,
woodwork, metal
yeah.
work. Yes, I
Yeah.
remember.
We did beadwork. We did, what else is there? We had a,
Tie and dye.
yeah,
Remember?
exactly.
Yes, we did tie and dye. I mean, it was fun, I would
It
say.
was.
When I think in the second semester of year one, I started, really getting into the reading, making the whole thing was beginning to make sense. And when we saw the result of our first semester exams, and we were like, my goodness, there's a lot to really do. You remember when we were agitating as at, the second semester year one, we were almost they were offering 21 courses all
Yeah.
together. And we were trying to
Yes.
say, why can't we merge some of these one unit courses together and then they'll make maybe one course, which
Yeah.
they eventually did, but we were
Mhm.
still having up to 19 courses all together.
One of the things I pick about those times was how close knit our classmates, the same that were in the same class, were. We
Yeah,
found common grounds in terms of every single time is football. We play football like every evening.
right.
You remember fellowship, like
Like
knife, the Christian
first,
fellowship, the knife's fellowship
yes,
on Fridays as well. And also,
the men still do life.
do you remember the parties?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Almost every Saturday, I mean, we go party and everybody will sleep till around 11 a.m. the following Sunday.
Fridays that we just thought of and be like, we've not partied in a while. We pick up the social speakers, and I'll pick up
Yeah,
two DVDs together with CDs, and then we'll play that all night. And then we have a lecture in the morning with
right.
Mama Kiyemi at the time.
She will come on Saturday or sometimes
Exactly.
anatomy lecturer.
Exactly. And then we have to have classes, and everybody will be looking so ragged because we partied all night the
And
previous
then
night. And
we
then
have
you
to
have to
go
go.
go for 7 hours lecture the following day.
Jesus.
And then when you mention this to people, they'll be like, what are you talking about? Which school are you talking about? Is that school? Especially
True.
some of the guys in the hospital, that were playing football together. I say, do you mean you are complaining that this course is difficult? What course are you talking
It
about?
was.
Oh,
It was. The you GNS English. We had to do
hmm,
GNS.
I remember
That
that.
I forgot. That was also the way he speaks
Yeah,
makes you be like
and it will be
he
expecting you
was
to just catch up, speak that way.
exactly.
But we are Nigerians. We are Nigerians. I mean, you don't expect me to start speaking Queen's English. I haven't been out of the country even for a moment.
Yeah,
But
exactly. The
anyways,
way he speaks, you and the way he picks his words, the way he sound them, the way it was just it was mesmerizing at the time, and you'd be like, "Can I
yeah.
ever sound this way?"
He was a professor at that time. I think was it?
He was, yes, he was, it
Yeah, he
was,
was.
it was.
I think yeah, he became a professor before we ended the study. So looking back, we are still looking very much back. You see, Kenny, which of the
Yeah,
courses would you say is the easiest for you, or the hardest? You mentioned the one that was the easiest, which is physics for biology. Which of
hmm.
the courses that was offered then would you say was very difficult for you at that
I
time?
mean, to say the least, physiology was one of them. Um, Physiology was very, very tough. It wasn't easy
And
because
I think
you can't comprehend it.
it was because physiology was very theory heavy. It was heavy
Yeah,
on theory.
it
You have to
was
read and read and read. You can't actually see the practicality of what was being taught as against what is it called, anatomy, where you could actually feel the muscles, you can see the bones, see the
exactly,
nerve. Remember the
exactly.
first time we went to LUTH, the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. The very first time when we went to the anatomy lab, people were fainting because of the chemical. I think what is it called? Is it propofol or that
Yeah,
they use
they used to embalm
to
the
embalm the bodies? Yes, it
yeah.
was an overwhelming experience, especially for some of our girls back
Yeah,
then.
I mean, you remember we got that to happen though. Do you remember? Do you remember what led to us being able to do a practical anatomy course? Do
Yeah,
you
we had to
remember
protest
exactly?
because you remember we paid 10K, 10,000 naira for the anatomy. They said practical. We didn't know it was going to be anatomy practical, but along the line, we got to know that we were supposed to have anatomy practical. And why? Why are we not having it? And it
Exactly.
started on us because the sets before us were not offered the practical aspect.
No, they
So
were offered
it
pictures.
started on us.
They were doing on pictures. It was like they bring out photograph projection
Yeah,
of these,
looks like a projector. Yes.
and then we had to fight for that. And I remember the first day we got into that anatomy lab, and they brought out a dead body on the table.
Cadaver, you mean?
Yeah, the cadaver. And I'm like, what do we have here? And then
And then,
people started vomiting. People started running out
yeah,
of the room because this is a body.
I'm not sure that experience is still going on today.
I
I'm not very
mean,
sure. For
we
those
would
of
have
you that
to,
are watching, if you are a student in the School of Occupational Therapy, let us know in the
in the
comment if
comment.
you are still going for anatomy practical and what your first experience was
Yeah,
seeing cadaver, a real life cadaver, something you will see on the street and you pick you.
exactly. I remember we went a few times. And do you remember that we had to fight for the bus for us to have a school bus at the time? Do you remember that we had to fight for generator to be in the school,
Oh
to have
yes,
electricity
because
all the time?
at that time, when it was 12 a.m., the hospital would turn off the generator. And during exams, there's no way we will be able to study without electricity, for God's sake.
Overnight?
And then we
Yeah.
have to go to the street protest. And yeah, thankfully, we were
They listened.
given, well, a
They listened.
refurbished school bus, yes. But yes, it was something. We got a bus, we got a generator. And what else did we get? We got the chance to go for anatomy practical
Yeah.
and Yeah,
And then we were able to also get a 2 weeks experience in Benin to go for
Benin.
like a placement, 2 weeks placement. But that's another story,
Yeah,
man. I just wanted to talk about that anatomy practical exam. Do you remember the steeplechase?
the steeplechase. That
You had to
was
have
the craziest kind of exam
no,
you can think of.
it was you had 1 minute
You have
to
to be
look at a
on
pinned
the fire.
you had 1 minute to look at a pinned muscle, and then you have to be like, okay, this is the muscle. You have
Yeah,
uh, what do you call it, decapitated leg somewhere, and then the muscle was pinned in the thigh, and then you have to identify
right.
that this is the muscle. What is the blood supply? What is the nerve supply? What is this? And I'm like,
What is the insertion, the origin, the action?
do you get? We had a brain in a jar, and a particular part was like pinned, and be like, what is that? It was
Yeah,
those were
they'll
like
pin something on it and say, identify this part of the brain, the part that is pinned, that you should identify, say the function, say the blood supply, and
they
that's to be done in 1 minute.
yeah. That was one of those kind of exams lived with me like for is living with me forever.
Yeah, and you remember the MCQ, the anatomy MCQ is usually 300,
Yeah,
300
true,
questions.
true. 300 objectives that
And
you need
you
to.
will have answers, sometimes more than one answer. You have no answer at all. They will deliberately not add any answer to the question. And you'll be wondering, where is the answer? So what they expect you to do is to leave it blank. And if you leave it blank, that's a score, a pass mark for that question. If you, if you, I mean, it
Do you
was
remember that
really
we
crazy.
did- we had some courses that had negative marking as well? You remember?
Yes, that anatomy. Also, I think yes, we used to beg the anatomy lecturer and the physiology lecturer that please don't do negative marking for this exam. Say that's how it's done. Every answer you score you get wrong, you get minus half from the one you get correctly. So in essence, if you have 50 marks, if you have 100 questions and you score 50 out of the 100 questions, that 50 will be 25 will be deducted from the 50 you got correctly, and then you'll be scoring 25 over 100 in the end. That was how tough the exams were back then, but
I
we scaled
mean,
through anyway.
yeah, we did. Do you remember there are some courses that are enjoyable though? So like for example, all of the OT courses, OT in mental
Right.
health, OT in pediatrics, OT, you are able to figure out things because we also go for apart from the 1 year clinical placement we went for, during our 2 year course at the time, we're going during the week to placements like to, for example,
Right.
Yaba Psychiatric Hospital. We'll join them for sessions. We see what they're doing. We help with patients. We get involved in all of those things, and those are the enjoyable part that I really liked.
The party, the Wednesday party in the OT department in Yaba is one of those things, where patient will come out and everything. You have the social, they call it social.
Socials,
Yes,
yes,
every
exactly.
Wednesday we do social activity. Some people will do art making, some will do bead making,
Yeah,
and many will do a lot of sporting activity. And then in the end, we have the party, people dance and they shared food and everything. It was,
true.
I mean, that's the most
True.
favorite, my favorite part of going to the OT department back then, and it was really fun.
I
And I
mean,
remember going in for psychotherapy as well at some point with the psychologist. We will attend psychotherapy.
that is one of the courses that were very interesting. Though the
Yeah,
Sigmund Freud,
psychology.
this the all of those punishment reinforcement,
All those
behavior theories,
behavioral analysis.
those were very, very exciting to listen to because the lecturer was so fun and he was able to make it into this realistic and able to relate it to our experience reality.
Yes, yes, yeah. You remember we wrote term paper I
We
think
did.
I wrote
We
my own
did.
term paper on psychology of Christmas celebration.
True.
You know, I mean, it was a lot of work. Then there was no internet as we had it today. I mean, as we are having it now. Back then, you have to sleep overnight at the cyber cafe. You know, do a lot of. I mean, very slow internet that you
Jesus
can't even.
Christ.
You wouldn't even be able to download anything.
I I mean, there was a lot, but one of the enjoyable parts of studying OT back then, as we were getting into like 2007, that we had to go
Yeah.
to placement. We had to go to this 1 year placement, 3 months in different settings, and then we had to
Mm,
travel to different places. And
yeah.
we were grouped into like four of us in different 4, 6 people in different places, and you were sent to different hospitals.
Yeah.
And
So, fortunately, I won't say unfortunately, but fortunately, you and I were in different group. I think my
yeah,
group was how many of us? I think we were 4 or 5. Yeah, yeah. We're
yeah,
going around, going. I think we started ours. I can't remember exactly where we started, but I know we went to Benin. We went to Abeokuta. We came back to Lagos. We did Igbobi. We did Yaba. Whereas that's probably it.
yeah. That was
Igbobi,
it.
Yaba, Benin, Abeokuta.
That
Yeah,
was probably
four placements. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I was with the only doctor. I was with Karim. I was with
yeah.
I was with Debbie, and I think that was the four of us. And then we went to
Yeah, I think I
neuropsychiatric
was with
hospital.
me. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, placement was really
yeah,
fun, to be
that's it.
honest.
It was
Place
really fun,
it
really fun
was.
traveling around, which I believe is the integral part of the whole study thing. Because I did my project, part of my project in Benin, because that was where I could find a suitable patient or subject that I used for my final year project at that time, and which was supervised by Baba. What was his name? Baba.
Who is
This
that?
visiting lecturer, Baba Mwegu. Is it? Yeah, Mwegu. Chief
The
Mwegu
Chief
was my
Wego was
supervisor.
supervisor. Yeah. I mean, I did mine generically on OT in cerebral palsy at the time, and I used the patient from. I'm not sure it's still there. I think it has been adopted. This Modupe Cove.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's. I
I
mean,
remember.
looking back at all of those now, you just think like, yeah, those courses felt very overwhelming. Like you said, they
Yeah,
felt so much. But looking back at it right now, you are able to apply those in practice.
that's right.
It's not just content. They've shaped the way, whether consciously or unconsciously, they've shaped the way we reason, clinically reason patients. They've shaped the way we talk about to people. They've shaped the way we've educated people. Whereas back
That's right.
when we were in Benin, that we were lecturers, or even being a clinical educator in the NHS as well. They've been able to help us to do all of that.
Yeah, yeah. It's because those things were not learned; they were lived.
Mm.
Because the moment we got in tune with what we were studying at that time, we were so engrossed in it, like it was our life. We were living those things, and now playing it back, it becomes easy to remember all the way we've, you remember we were gathering in the class at some point. We will be teaching each other. Remember Shola, Emore, Bola, Ibukun. We were always in the class at night. I love to teach. That was
Yeah.
actually how I learned better, because cramming was not part of the thing I really love to do. So I love to just read it out, talk to people about it. That is so we really lived that our experience. that is what now becomes a really good part of us, and it's becoming very easy to teach to others, to even remember and put it in practice as we move around the world, making OT proud, which I would say.
I mean,
Right.
to look at it, you also believe that there are some certain parts that we weren't able to learn from school. There, there were the courses we weren't able to touch, which more goes towards the emotional side of things to handle yourself. We were overloaded or loaded with all of this, how to handle patients, how to deal with this, how to conduct a session, how to understand how the human body works in terms of you being able to provide some form of rehabilitation to them with your skills. But in those times, we really didn't have any form of course that catered to you as a
Yeah.
therapist that will face all of this emotional side of things as well.
Yes, things like holistic thinking, adaptability, understanding occupation, and seeing the person beyond the diagnosis, where those things that, you know, they are not more of something you see as a subject, not something you see in school or university as a course of study. They are the things you get to know as you begin to practice, as you move on, as you go for higher study or do researches. Those are the things you start to learn, which is what we've been learning outside the wall of classrooms, even as we speak, because learning never stops.
No, I mean, those are the things that you need to experience yourself. And like I was pointing out in that time where you're going to experience an array of different emotions. You're going to experience,
That's right.
you will be able to apply a lot of these things that you learn in school into practice, and you will learn a lot from the practical side of things. But there's so many things. Back home when we started practicing just after diploma, you get attached to all of this, your clients. You have this emotional connection with them because we were both in, for example, pediatrics at the time. You spend so much time, whether with the patient, with the family, and if things are not panning out the way, whether the expectations of the parents and also the goals that you have set and they are taking longer, you get this emotional burnout. You get frustrated.
That's right.
And
That's
school did not prepare us for that. Nah,
no, no.
nah, never did.
So when we reflect on all that had happened,
Mm.
if you could go back to OT school and speak to yourself while studying, Kenny, what would you say if you are honestly?
Well, if my future self is talking to my 2005, 2006 self, I think one of the things is to reassure him that it all worked out in the end. Because to be honest with you, I never thought it was gonna. I didn't even know. Even after school, technically, I didn't. You see all these people that you see on in placement and the therapists that were working at the time. You kind of feel like they seem to have it all figured out. Am I going to be as these people? And then you have that panic or phobia of the fact that would I be as good clinically? Will I be able to make it in this? So if anything at all, my future self right now will be able to tell my 2005, 2006, 7 self. I think what I will tell him is it all worked out.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. What about you? What reflection do you take from this? Because we've reminisced a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I would give myself a pat on the back anyway because it wasn't an easy decision to make.
True.
Because 2005, I would say, was one of the most unhappy year for me when it comes to career choice and you know growth in life because I
Yeah.
gave up. My case wasn't a case of almost gave up. I gave up completely on education.
Hmm.
But I would give myself a pat on the back for making an attempt at all, for trying. Because it wasn't an easy choice.
I can
People,
imagine.
I was even hiding the school from people. Like, I didn't want to tell some of my friends that I got into school because they will ask me. Some of them will laugh and say, "Oh, Onwo Were." I mean, they will mean you're looking after mad
the
people.
the
So
mentally ill.
no matter how you try to explain to them, but they keep saying, "Oh, but you school in psychiatric hospital." So what does that translate to?
Yeah, there was a stigma around it at the time. I mean, it's just to say as well for any OT student listening, for early career therapists listening, if things feel overwhelming right now, it's part of the process, it's part of the journey. You will figure it out. We did. So you will figure it out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
It all worked out in the end, and
yeah,
it will work out for you as well.
that's right. And with this, we say thank you for listening to this episode and for reflecting on the early days of our journey, our OT journey with us.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
in the next episode, we will start unpacking what it means to practice after school. Because we, just to enlighten people, we went to a diploma school first, we practiced, and then went to get a degree and came back and practiced. And then
Yeah.
we will uncover what it means to practice, where we started from, where we went to when we stepped up, and that will all be encompassing in the next episode. We are glad
We are
you're with
glad
us.
you're with us. Yes, we are really glad you are with us today. And thank you very much for sticking to watch to the end. And please don't forget to like, comment, and please share with people, subscribe, and you can maybe click on the notification button because we'll be coming out with more episodes as we move on. And thank you very much for this. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye from me. And thank you for everyone suggesting so many things to us. But yeah, bye.